What have you been job searching for over a decade and you've never been able to find a job? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to break that one down for you. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to talk about the sad case of a person who has been looking for a job since 2012 and has not had any luck to date. And it clearly looks like this person could use all the help that they can get. So let's break down their story a little bit, and then I'll give you my perspective, and hopefully they're watching this and they'll be able to take advantage of some of the advice. But before we get too far into it, if you'd like to learn how to act like the CEO of your career, make sure you sign up for my free weekly newsletter. And in it, I share concise and actionable tips to help you reclaim control of your career and start to act with more authority and conviction. So make sure you sign up for it. It's absolutely free. So I was perusing Reddit and I came across a posting that was pretty shocking. So it says, I wish I could say that this was a joke, but I've basically been doing nothing but job hunting since 2012 and can't find a job. August 2012, so that's basically 11 years. I've just gotten a rejection from Target, and that's not even what I really wanted to do. It's just that most of the time I've been stuck at a job that I couldn't stand, where I felt completely trapped. I've probably applied to over 2,000 jobs by now and have had maybe 10 interviews. And it's obviously a really bad application to interview ratio, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. He says, I just don't get it. I've had my resume looked over many times. All I want is an office job that is around 8 to 5, even if the pay isn't the best. But because I've never had an office job, I'll never be able to get one since no one wants at least a year of experience, and most of the time a 4-year degree, even if the job is considered to be so-called entry level. It's a hell of a sentence. I'm just so done. I wish I could not work and live on disability at this freaking point. Why should I have a job if nobody wants me? So sick of this broken job market. It's just killing my self-esteem, and I really don't know why I'm spending time job hunting anymore. Oh wait, it's because I have to. So clearly this person is feeling very frustrated and very broken by a very unsuccessful job search. And let's face it, in this particular case, it's a very long job search, can be very draining and it can wear a person down. And so I recently posted about mental health and the job search, and certainly would imagine that a person who has been searching unsuccessfully for the better part of a decade would probably start to experience mental health issues. So this one is no laughing matter, like they said in their title. A few things kind of stand out to me here is, number one, he's had his I'm assuming this is a he, I probably shouldn't assume, but number one, they said that they have their resume looked over many times. And I'm curious if they've had a professional look at that, or if they've had a buddy or a friend. And I'll say, as a recruiting expert, when I have looked at a lot of resumes that have been proofed or helped along by somebody's friend or family member or coworker, or even in some cases, professional resume writers that don't have any credential for actually hiring people, I've seen probably more bad resumes than I have good. And best intentions, I'm sure, were there when they were giving feedback. But if you're relying on somebody who's not an expert in this space to give you resume feedback, and your dream job or an ideal job pops up and you're really wanting to make sure that you get the interview, that's a lot of trust that you're putting into somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing. So I'm just kind of questioning who they've actually had looking at their resume, and clearly there's an issue with it, because when you look at the application to interview ratio, they're having a very, very low percentage, and we generally want to see around at least 20%. In fact, I want to see it actually higher than 20%. So in other words, for every 10 jobs I apply to, I should be getting at least 2 phone calls back on and setting up. In fact, I would probably want to see that more at the 40%, maybe even 50% range. And if my rates are significantly lower than that, it's telling me a couple of things. Number one, I'm probably not applying to targeted jobs. In other words, jobs that I'm a good fit for. I'm probably spraying and praying and sending it off to ones that I'm probably a low percentage match on, maybe like less than 50%, maybe 40%, 30%. In some cases, people will just spam out their resumes. They won't even look at the job, or barely will read through the job posting. They won't look at the company or anything like that. They'll just kind of spray and pray. And the chances of them being an actual good fit for the job are very, very slim. So in this case, I'm imagining that this person is probably spraying and praying their resume and has a resume issue. A general litmus test for your resume: if you're applying to a job or jobs, and you're a reasonably good fit for the role, and I'm talking better than 50%, and you're not getting phone calls back, you're not getting any interviews, your ratios are less than 20%, then it's almost always a resume issue. And that's a kind of a universal truth. I've never seen somebody struggling in a job search who didn't have a resume issue to begin with. And it could be as simple as there's a formatting issue, or it could be as complex as you need to completely wipe out your resume. But in general, something about your resume is not convincing a hiring manager or a recruiter through a very quick first glance that you're worthy of putting into the preliminary screen. And this can be especially maddening for somebody who does have the skill, does have the experience, but their resume just isn't conveying it effectively. And I've talked about this before on the channel. When I go through a resume, I'm scanning very quickly, and all recruiters do this, honestly, because we'll be sitting on, I had one job that came up in particular that within 26 hours of me posting the job, I had 750 applications. And this was for a very senior IT role. It was like a VP level IT role. So it was like a big job, paid $200K plus equity. Out of the 750 people that applied, I was actually getting some people like there was a gas station attendant. I'm not making that up. A gas station attendant that was applying for a VP role in IT infrastructure that had no IT background at all, wasn't going to school for IT. It just was completely unqualified. And I probably probably out of the 750, there was like, I mean, half of them just right off the bat didn't meet minimum requirements. They were in different countries. They were like hopelessly underqualified or whatever the case might be. So recruiters have to look through resumes really quickly to get through that volume. And they have a system in place. They look for very specific things when they're screening resumes. At least I did, and I'm sure all my recruiter brethren probably do too. And we'll scan through the resume very quickly looking for certain specific keywords or phrases or combinations. And you're either in a yes pile or no pile very quickly. And we can tell, like, once you've looked at tens of thousands of resumes and you've worked with hundreds or thousands of hiring managers on thousands of different jobs, all in certain verticals, you become very adept at being able to pick out what you're looking for very quickly. And you kind of have to. It's a necessity as being a recruiter. Otherwise, you're never going to last very long. So even though it can be very frustrating for the job seeker, seeing a job out there that they want to apply to, they send out a resume and they're at the mercy of a recruiter who isn't an expert. We're not coder. Like when I was looking for software developers, I'm not a software developer. I do very minimal coding. I do enough to be dangerous, but I'm not going to sit down and go toe to toe with you on the deep levels of coding. I just don't have that technical capability, and it's not my job to know that. My job is to find candidates who have it. And I know that there are people out there being very frustrated saying, well, you can't even tell how to write this code or do this or do that. And that's the truth of it. So as unfortunate and frustrating as it sounds for the job seeker, you kind of have to cater your resume to the audience. You have to, I hate to say this because it sounds bad, but you have to kind of spoon feed your resume to the recruiter. But you have to have enough meat on the bone for the hiring manager to be convinced that you're a good fit too. So it's like this balancing act that you need to play. And there is strategy involved with resumes. And if you don't know what you're doing with resumes, like resumes are this very mysterious thing. We don't really know what we're doing with them. We think we write these resumes that are great, that really show strength, that shows that we're a great fit, and we still get these rejections. And it's almost always, when I look at resumes, I've looked at so many of them and I've fixed so many of them that I can almost immediately within seconds go, oh, here's these 5 or 6 issues. You gotta do this, you gotta move here, do this. and it's just because my eye is trained like a recruiter, because that's just what I've done for so much of my career. So in this person's case, they would be well served to learn how to craft a resume that is going to be more targeted. And when you're looking at applying now, this is 2,000 jobs over the course of 10 or 11 years, isn't nearly as many. It's like 200 a year, I guess. So that's not that many over the course of a year. So I would say you probably want to increase your applications, but more importantly, find the right jobs that are the right fit based on your background. And over 10 years, you should certainly have had opportunities to improve your resume, even if it's free training or something to get keywords. go and volunteer at your local library or do something, or maybe ask for an internship. I think he was saying that he couldn't get an entry-level job in an office setting, and they require a 4-year degree. And in a lot of cases, yeah, they do require 4 degrees. I have 4-year degrees. I have my own opinion on that too, but you have to be strategic in trying to get your resume to read, because here's the deal. You're competing against people who do have strong resumes, that do have strong backgrounds, that are very aligned and targeted to the role. And if I've got 15, 20 people that we've narrowed down to that actually meet the decent level based requirements, and you're ranked at maybe 18th or 19th, we're going to be going through candidate 1 through 5 first. And if we don't find our candidate out of the 1 through 5, then we'll move to 6 through 10, or 6 through, we'll move to the next group, and then we'll move to the next group, and then we'll move to the next group. So you may be in the 4th or 5th group down, and chances are we're going to find our candidate in the first group, or maybe the second group. So that's why being able to market yourself so effectively, or market yourself effectively through a really solid resume, is so important. There's also some strategies you can use for selective networking. I am making sure that I'm spending time building my networks with the right kind of people. In other words, recruiters, hiring managers, the companies, target people and companies that I might have a high degree of interest in. Instead of just spraying and praying and hoping for the best, I'm being proactive and getting my name actively in front of the right people who are the decision makers. So that would be the second thing. And if you are getting into the interview process, this person probably isn't even getting many interviews, that sounds like only 10. When you do get the interview, it's so important to make sure that you're prepared correctly, because there's a lot at stake with somebody that's not getting a lot of interviews. So when the interview does happen, you want to make sure that you're really prepared and you know exactly what it is that you're doing, and so that you can approach the interview with strength and conviction, so that you are the person who gets that job offer. You are the gold medal candidate. And so for this person, it's really a combination. I'd love to see this person's resume based on the types of jobs. I would certainly, I'm almost going to guarantee that they're going to need to tweak it. I'm going to guarantee that they probably do not have a LinkedIn presence. I'm going to guarantee that they're not doing any meaningful networking at all. And they're spraying and praying, or it's like they're spraying and praying on one level, but they're probably not also applying to enough jobs on another level. And realistically, I'm also going to assume that they probably have not done anything in the last 10 years to make their resume actually look stronger. Because listen, there are ways that you can improve your resume, even if you're entry level. If you're somebody that's trying to get your foot in the door, be creative, think outside of the box. Go ask your parents who are, maybe your dad works in it as an engineer at some local engineering company. Like, ask for an internship with them, and just even in their department. Maybe you can ask the boss, and hey, can my son or daughter come and work for the summer and spend a few months on some special project. There are ways that you can get experience, even as an experienced or somebody that's late career who wants to try to pivot. You can still do those types of things. Yeah, you're going to have to kind of suck up your pride. You might have to do a little bit of unpaid or low paid work in order to get it, but it's all about setting up your profile in the correct way so that you can have some strength and you can set yourself a little bit apart. So if you're somebody in a similar type of scenario where you're just not having luck with a very difficult job search, it's actually something clearly that I specialize in. I've actually created a bunch of training. I take all of my coaching that I've developed over the years, and I've consolidated into some of my most intimate and deep knowledge. And it's just, there's so much information there that really gives you the strategy to be able to set yourself apart from the crowd. And the first one is called Resume Rocketfuel, and it's designed, this person could really use a Resume Rocketfuel kind of a boost in their resume. The Resume Rocketfuel course teaches you how to write a resume from a recruiter's perspective. It also gives you the strategy necessary in order to position yourself and use it as a strategic document. So if you're interested in learning how to write your resume, that's a great course. In fact, I think it's the best course on the market. I'm really proud of that one. I think that's my bestseller. It's a really great course if you're really struggling with your resume. But once you get into the interview process, it's up to you to market yourself correctly. Again, we got a lot at stake, especially we want to try to see those interviews go up. We want to try to get to that 20 to 25% callback rate. But when we do get those interviews, we want to make sure that we're knowing how to to position ourselves in each round of interview so that we end up with the job offer. It can be a little bit of a gauntlet. And that's where the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp comes in, and it takes you through each round of the interview process. It gives you tips, techniques, ways of getting through the interview in a smooth and powerful way so that you're the one that gets the offer. And that's the end of the kind of end of the day. That's what's the most important thing. And we're going to teach you how to make sure that you don't leave a dime on the table. So if you struggle with the job search and the interview processes, that's a great course. And of course, this person would really benefit from some strategic targeted networking, and that's where the Unlocking LinkedIn course comes in. It's going to teach you how to get those recruiters to start coming and finding you instead, and then also how to get around the recruiter altogether. Because if you see jobs that have 700, 800, 900 applications, you can use techniques to get in front or cut in front of the line. And that course teaches you how to do it. So a lot of information here, pardon my rambling, but I did think that this was a very valuable question that this person was asking, and hopefully they see it and can take advantage of some of the advice. And as always, appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.